If you do not have access to industrial court, how then do you expect to get justice in a court which does not exist in your area? The means of the ability to access a court is very important. And I want to talk about it specifically because there's a point I'm trying to build. The second thing is that the court must be able to make fair and effective decisions. The judges must be able to make fair and effective decisions. Because if you make decisions that are not fair, decisions that do not really make sense, then you cannot say you have dispensed justice. That will not be justice. There must be access to court, and the judges in the court must be able to make fair decisions for the people who have gone to seek for justice in court. Then the other part is that the decisions that have been made should be implemented. If you go to court and the court makes a very good decision, but unfortunately this decision cannot be implemented, then really there is no justice. You have gone to court, you have accessed the court, you have been able to get a decision made, but the decision is not implemented, so still justice is denied. But in this particular case, I would want to talk about access to court. Industrial court is a very good court. It is based here in Ntinda, Kampala, although I'm told sometimes it has got circuits where it travels to up-country stations, maybe Mbale, Fort Portal, maybe Liragulu, Arua. For some time they sit there and they are able to handle some labor cases in those areas. But I would want to say that out of what I have been able to establish, industrial court can be able to handle probably up to 500 cases in a year. 500 cases in a year. Industrial court can be able to effectively handle up to about 500 cases in a year. And even the 500 cases can only be, we could be able to realize 500 maybe in that year the industrial court would have actually performed very well to be able to handle 500 cases. And that is assuming all the panels, because it has got the 2 judges, although now there are supposed to be 5, but government has not appointed the other 3. Right now, industrial court has got only 2 judges. And assuming all of the panels constituted by the different panelists and headed by the judge are actually operational. If they are operational and there is no shortfall, then we expect maybe industrial court, if they have worked exceedingly very hard, maybe they may reach 1,000. Although I'm not sure whether the industrial court can handle 1,000 cases in a year. Now, in a situation where we have got up to about 20 million workers in Uganda, remember we are talking about social and economic justice for the workers. The arguments we have been trying to advance right from the time I started talking about these things is that how can workers get social and economic justice? We have an industrial court which, according to the laws of Uganda, has got the responsibility of handling labor cases. But the industrial court can handle barely 1,000 cases in a year. In a country where we have got 20 million workers who are working, I like it when a certain judge was actually challenging us and said, now supposing only we have 10% of the 20 million workers who have grievances, that would mean that you have about 2 million complaints that are supposed to be handled by industrial court. But industrial court is handling just 1,000. In fact, even 1,000, they would have worked exceedingly very well. Maybe the highest they could go is 500. In a situation where you have got 2 million complaints. And then we are saying that we are able to dispense justice to the workers in Uganda. You see, these are some of the jokes we are really operating in Uganda here. You have an industrial court which can hardly handle 500 cases. And we have probably up to 2 million complaints. And we expect there to be justice. Why is it that industrial court is only based here in Kampala? What happens to the workers who are in Kapilabong, na Kapiripiriti, Abim, what happens to them? The workers in Serere, the workers in Bukedea, the workers in Namisindwa, what happens to them? The workers that are deep down in Rampara, wherever, which extreme ends of the, what happens to them? We are having a situation where we have what we call a court. The court is pretending to be delivering justice. Actually, this is real pretense, something that resembles, because justice, when we have 10 workers who need justice, and you are able to deal with only one, or we have 1,000, and we are dealing with 2, can we say now the workers of Uganda are getting justice? Are we saying now we can be able to say we have social and economic justice for the workers of Uganda, when out of 1,000, the court is dealing with only 2 cases? This is not fair. And that's why we are saying that every time we talk about the plight of the workers in Uganda, sometimes people think really we are being very unreasonable. But imagine you have got 2 million complaints. 2 million complaints from workers, aggrieved, and the workers are heavily aggrieved. When you go to a workplace, you will find over 50% of the people having complaints. In fact, more than 50% are complaining. They have cases against their employers. But what happens if those cases are not administratively resolved? Because in many workplaces, employers don't even entertain complaints from workers. They just suppress complaints. They suppress everybody who comes up with a complaint, becomes an enemy. In fact, you are warned, you are victimized, you are intimidated, you are harassed, because you have complained about what is legitimately yours. You are saying, no, I'm entitled to ABC, but why are you treating me like this? And some of the things are even very small things which you don't even require. But you find an employer who is in arms against an employee, fabricating stories to ensure that the employee gets dismissed, and even the dismissals are unfair. Now, in cases where people cannot be able to go to get justice administratively, where will they be able to go? They will be able to go to court. But which court? Industrial court, which can handle only 500 cases, maybe out of the 2 million complaints workers are filing. We have a problem that we cannot dispense justice to the workers. There is a lot of unfairness. No wonder the country is not developing as it should. And of course, when I say this, there are people who are called to say, no, there are other factors. My friend, if workers' plight is not addressed, the question of development, you can run around, but finally you will come back to sit down and say, what do we do for the workers of Uganda? We must be able to do something to help the workers of Uganda to minimize these complaints that workers are really having against their employers. There must be a mechanism of resolving and let the system function. We've seen workplaces that do not even want to entertain process of discussing complaints that workers have. In fact, some of the people I relate with telling me, but how are we going to waste a lot of time listening to people's brief? We are supposed to work. Yes, you are supposed to work. But when there is a complaint, that complaint that is not addressed is going to affect work. So we must be able to raise standards in such a way that people don't raise complaints. So every time there is a complaint, we resolve a complaint, but we also address the standards. We improve standards so that those complaints will not keep recurring. Why should we have a complaint occurring today and tomorrow and the other day? That will not be right. I want to appeal to you, colleagues, wherever you are, that this time, as we continue handling these issues,